Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. So with a new renewed focus on PvP with that big trials update, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a tier list for all the subclasses that people are playing, just so people have a better idea of what really is the meta. And this is going to have a trials focus here, and again, this is a tier list, so we're obviously going to put the best stuff at the top, and we're not going to be sugarcoating anything. This is really the perspective of good players against good players. Like, what would they be using, and how would those subclasses stack up against each other? So we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. Probably the worst subclass in the game, Strand Titan. Strand Titan, it does have like some interesting gimmicks. Like, you can do the Dranger's Lash. You do have the Suspend Barricade. But other than that, super not really strong. Its cooldown also doesn't really come back super fast. Grenade wise, you do have Grapple, but if you're going to use Grapple, you might as well use Strand Hunter because that has increased functionality with multiple grenades and such. So all around, D tier subclass is probably one of the worst subclasses you could possibly play. And we're going to follow that up quickly with Strand Warlock. Now, I know a lot of people are really not going to like this because this subclass does have some interesting, unique tools in its toolkit. Notably, Weave Walk can be kind of useful because when you go into Weave Walk, you are invincible. Basically, you have an insane amount of damages. You're basically impossible to kill. So you can use that to kind of bait out abilities, play near the objective and such. But other than that, this subclass really does not have much to offer. It's melee, for one. Arcane Needle, not very strong, doesn't do very much damage. It does have that unravel effect, so if you hit somebody with it, they do end up doing a lot less damage. But again, like grenade wise, you do have Grapple. I guess you have Threadling Grenade, but if you're going to use Grapple, you might as well use Strand Hunter because it does have that increased functionality. And again, just like Strand Titan, Strand Warlock Super is really just not that good. It's really just like a worse Blade Barrage. You have that super long wind up, and the tracking is very unreliable. And it's not like it's a super fast charging super. So we're going to put Strand Titan and Strand Warlock here in the D tier. I think that's going to be it, honestly, for the D tier class. Is just going to be these two. And now that we're in C tier, I think we can put Solar Titan here in the C tier. Solar Titan does have some redeeming qualities. The biggest one being its super. Burning Maul is one of the best, if not the best, roaming super in the game. It is really, really strong. It lasts an insane amount of time with sunspots. It does an insane amount of damage, so it can deal with other supers really easily, like Wells of Radiance or Bubbles. Really, really strong on the objective. But other than this super, doesn't really have that much utility. You do have some access to the solar grenades, which can be pretty strong, like Solar Grenade, Swarms, Trip Mines, Fusion Grenades, Healing Grenades. But other than that, it's kind of just a vanilla cookie cutter Titan class. You do have the shoulder charge, but really all the subclasses on Titan have kind of like a movement associated with their melee ability. And Solar Titan's melee ability is not very strong. So again, I don't think Solar Titan really has much to offer other than its super. But if really all you're playing in the class is for the super, then is this really a good subclass? Probably not. So we're going to put Titan down here in this C tier. And right along with Hammer Titan is going to be Arc Warlock. Arc Warlock does, like Solar Titan here, does have some redeeming qualities. For one, you have Lightning Surge, great melee ability, super strong. You can just kind of melee in there for some great trades. It does a lot of damage, and it can deal with multiple players pretty easily. You do have Arc Souls, which is nice when you place that Healing Earth because you can get some extra free damage with that turret from the Arc Souls. But other than that, super-wise, it's not like the worst because Storm Trance it's not one of the fastest charging supers, but it can be okay. But it doesn't have that range, and it's not really fast enough to deal with a lot of people who are running away. Chaos Reach is decent. At least it does charge semi-quickly, but one of the big benefits of Chaos Reach is being able to cancel it. But Chaos Reach has been nerfed several times, so it's not like even if you cancel your super early with Chaos Reach, you're likely to get a second super. So I think all around, Arc Warlock is going to have to go in the C tier. So next up in the C tier, I'm gonna put probably Arc Staff here. Arc Staff, again, like Arc Warlock and Solar Titan, does have some. They have some like interesting tools in their toolkit. For one, Tempest Strike is a really strong melee. You can kind of throw it around a wall, and it does have some interesting abilities where it does a lot of damage. You can jolt people. You can deal with multiple players pretty easily. The melee ability is actually pretty good combination blow because it does get you your health back, and you've combined it with lethal current, I believe, or flow state, whatever the aspect is called, that buffs your melee range after you dodge. That arc melee can be pretty strong, but again, this is a case where this subclass kind of has been power crept since these newer subclasses have came out, and really it's been a couple years since Arc 2.0 has been introduced in the game, so really Arc has been kind of power crept, especially on like Arc Hunter and Arc Warlock here. So again, I think we're going to put Arc Warlock in the C tier. Now, if I really am looking at all of these subclasses here, I think that's going to be it for the C tier. I think next tier, the B tier, is going to be the largest. Let's start with something I think people are not going to like, is Strand Hunter. Now, Strand Hunter is really, really fun. I cannot deny that. You have multiple grapple grenades, you have insane movement, you have that super nice, fun in-air, like, suspend dodge, but let's be real here, guys. Only really Walla can make this work against really good players, and honestly, guys, if he was using any of the other subclasses that are placed higher on this tier list, I would strongly believe that he'd be doing better than what he is right now, but there is that fun factor with Strand Hunter, so that cannot be denied. It does have some interesting tech as well. The melee Threaded Spike is really, really strong because it's a nice range melee, does a good chunk of damage, and you can get some energy refunded when you throw it. Threaded Spectre on Strand Hunter, really strong. That clone, still pretty annoying because it is a fake radar ping, and it is just like something that can body block for you if you dodge and you get shot. So pretty strong. Grap Grenade on Hunter, really nice because not only is it a mobility tool, but it also buffs your weapons because most people on Strand Hunter are going to be using that Thread of Ascent fragment, which does buff your weapon handling and reload speed. So we're going to have Strand Hunter here in the B tier. I know probably not what a lot of people want to hear, but in the end, we're going to put Strand Hunter in the B tier because as well, the super, it does have nice movement, but it doesn't have a crazy amount of damages, so you can really team shot Strand Hunter down pretty easily. Now, another subclass that I really wanted to put higher because it's one of my favorites, but I don't think is quite good enough to put higher, is Golden Gun Hunter. Now, Golden Gun Hunter does have a lot of interesting things in its toolkit. For one, Blade Barrage, especially in Trials, is a really nice super because it charges super fast. So you are likely to get your super, be among the first people in the lobby to get your super if you are playing well. You do have a lot of nice abilities in your toolkit. For one, you have that explosive throwing knife, which is basically a second grenade, and you can get it back very easily with Gambler's Dodge. So, Solar Hunter, you can place that second grenade basically with your explosive knife. You can use another grenade like Trip Mine. What are another good one? Solar Grenade, Thermites, Fusion Grenades. There's a whole lot of good grenades and options that you can really customize to your playset on Solar Hunter. You also do have that crazy on your mark aspect, probably my favorite aspect in the game, honestly. Being able to dodge or get a headshot kill to buff your weapon handling and reload speed. It just makes your weapons feel so good. But unfortunately, like the other classes that you can see here, a lot of the newer subclasses or subclasses that have been buffed lately have kind of power crept Solar Hunter in terms of the best possible subclasses to use. So it kind of hurts me to say, but I think Solar Hunter kind of belongs with Strand Hunter in this B tier as well. Now next, we're going to put Stasis Hunter here as well. Like Solar Hunter and Strand Hunter, Stasis Hunter was really good back in the day, but has received repeated nerfs. There is some, it's not like you can't make Stasis Hunter work. There are some strong builds you can use. I did have fun using Renewal Grasps on Hunter because you can use the buff Dustfield Grenades, and those Dustfield Grenades can help deal with these Striker Titan barricades that do appear a lot nowadays. We'll talk about Striker Titan later, but this can be a kind of a niche like subclass to play against certain matchups, and it does have a really nice super. Silence and Squall is a really fast charging super, kind of like Blade Barrage, where you can kind of just throw it and it can deal with like any super in the game, because you have that freeze, and then you have that shatter and that tornado. That tornado can be really nice, moving players away from objectives or like power points on the map. So Stasis Hunter is not like, it's not a horrible class, guys. Like, it's in the B tier, but that's really as high as I can put it, because some of these other subclasses have kind of power crept Stasis Hunter into its position here today. Now, another class, actually, I'm really thinking about it. Or do any of these other classes really belong in the tiers in B tier? I'm at Honestly, guys, I don't think so. So I think we're going to be done with B tier here, and we're going to move on to A and S tier. Actually, you know what? I have one more class, and this also does hurt me. Probably my favorite subclass in the game, guys. This is probably the highest. Actually, I don't know. I don't really want to be too biased, but this is definitely, like, I think an upper B tier class, but isn't quite good enough to make it to A. Voidwalker, very, very fun. My favorite. You have a really nice aspect with Child of the Old Gods, where you have that little ball when you place your Healing Rift. Gets you that ability regen when it tags people. And it also does a significant amount of damage. You do also have Devour, so when you get ability kills, you do get instant health regen. So you can make some crazy plays with Voidwalker here. You have a decent super. Nova Bomb is not by any means the fastest charging super, but you can get it if you're playing well. And it can deal with basically any super in the game if it's placed well. And that is kind of the thing here, guys, is that this super can easily be baited, or especially when you're trying to hit people at certain parts of the map, especially near like tight corridors. This can easily like bounce on the wall. You can easily damage yourself with it. But it is still a great super if used well. You also do have that pocket singularity, that's my favorite melee in the game, where if you throw it, it has crazy tracking. So when it hits somebody, it'll knock them up in the air and make them volatile. So they are a really easy kill if you hit them with the Void melee. But again, I think all these other subclasses are just slightly better than the Voidwalker here. So I think that's going to be it for B tier, and we're going to move towards A and S now. Now, I think we're going to start here with Prismatic Warlock here. Now, Prismatic Warlock takes a lot of the best of these subclasses that we've shown earlier down here. You do have Devour from Void Warlock, so whenever you get an ability kill, all your health back, everything, instantly. You get full health. Very, very strong. And you also have the best part of Arc Warlock here, which is Lightning Surge. I know you guys have seen probably Terror use this a lot. This guy is really nice with that Lightning Surge and Void Walker Devour combo, so you can easily make crazy plays where you can get somebody weak and then turn around and kill him with a Lightning Surge. You can deal a lot of damage to the other person while getting all your health back at the same time. Prismatic Warlock is very customizable as well. A lot of good supers. You can use Nova Bomb. You can use Storm Trance here. You can use Song of Flame. You can use, I believe, the Stasis Super. Stasis Super is really good. So, lots of options for Prismatic Warlock, as well as because you are on a Prismatic subclass, you do have access to something like an exotic class item, which the other subclasses that are not Prismatic don't. So there are some like builds that you can take advantage of on the Prismatic classes that you can't on the others. My personal favorite way to play this is with the class item that gives you Ophidian, so your weapons feel better. And then you also have Claws of Ahamkara, which gives you multiple melee charges. So I like using multiple pocket singularities. You can also use Lightning Surge, so you can really pick whichever melee you want in the certain situation. So I think Prismatic Warlock definitely belongs up here in A. And next, I think we're going to go with Prismatic Hunter here. Prismatic Hunter, still strong. That classic setup with the smoke grenades, or smoke bombs, swarm grenades, Threaded Spectre, and slow dodge, still an elite combo. You did get that Storm's Edge nerf, but guys, what do you have here? You have one of the fastest charging supers in the game available to you. So you can use Silence and Squall, great super. You still have the clones, you still have the smoke bombs, you still have the slow dodge. You do again have access to the prismatic class items. So let's say you don't want to use Stompies, you don't want to use like Knucklehead, don't want to use like Frosties or Radiant Dance Machines. Oh, you can just use like Ophidian Aspect or Six Coyote, so you can have like multiple dodges and Ophidian. So I think Prismatic Hunter definitely still deserves its spot up in A, even after the numerous nerfs that it has received. Prismatic also just recently received a couple months ago that 15% blanket cooldown to all abilities, but because the effectiveness of each individual ability is still really strong, those cooldowns, that cooldown penalty is still not that noticeable, and it still makes Prismatic Hunter a really strong class. And again, we're going to put the other Prismatic class, Prismatic Titan, up here in A as well. Prismatic Titan, again, very customizable like the rest of the Prismatic classes. You have access to all, actually most of the best Titan supers. You have Thunder Crash, you have Twilight Arsenal, you have hammers, probably not amazing, but you can pick them if you want some like solar synergy with your subclass. You have Glacial Quake, which is really nice. So you also have access to the best aspects as well. You get Knockout. I know Diamond Lance was just nerfed. Diamond Lance is still like okay. You can use Dranger's Lash, which is probably like the best part about Strand Titan because you get the Suspend Barricade. So I think all around, again, the Prismatic classes all deserve their spot up in A. Titan is not excluded from that as well because it does have a lot of interesting abilities that go with a subclass. And there's lots of, again, build variety because you are on the Prismatic subclass. Now, again, I think we're going to put Striker Titan up here as well. That Bolt Charge, I got some flack, rightfully so, for my recent Bolt Charge video because I did not use the Bolt Charge correct. I did not have all the seasonal mods that buff the damage and whatnot. So again, Striker Titan is kind of being carried by the Storm's Keep aspect. We can play around those rally barricades, but I don't think it's good enough to be put in the S tier because you have to play a very specific way to take advantage of the Bolt Charge. You have to play really slow. You have to be preferably in a team where you're coordinated, where you can all take maximum advantage of the Bolt Charge. You do have decent supers on Striker Titan. Thunder Crash is pretty good. A little bit slower charging. Fist of Havoc is honestly a little bit better. Maybe not. It's better than it was before. So I think they're honestly about equal in terms of how good each super is because Fist of Havoc did they get that damage resist buffed, so it's a little bit harder to deal with. It does have some pretty crazy movement and it is really fast. So not a horrible roaming super. Thunder Crash is nice, one and done super to deal with a lot of the other supers that you may encounter here. But again, it is really being carried by that Storm's Keep aspect. You do still have Knockout, which is nice as well. But again, I think most people are really playing the subclass for Storm's Keep and that Rally Barricade tech where you're really just playing slow, waiting for people to make a mistake into your Rally Barricade so you can take advantage of the Bolt Charge. So we're going to keep Prismatic Titan, or not Prismatic Titan, sorry, Striker Titan up in A, not in S, because you have to play a very specific way. And there's not really a lot of room to grow or really opportunity to branch off from that specific playstyle. So another class we're going to add up in here into the A tier, I think, is going to be Stasis Warlock. Now, the difference really between Stasis Warlock and Stasis Hunter, which is Stasis Hunter's kind of fallen off a little bit. I think Stasis Warlock is probably still up here with the rest. Is that the exotics I think you can use with Stasis Warlock and the aspects are a little bit more cheesy than the Stasis Hunter. You do have a lot of great defensive options. You are really hard to push when you are a Stasis Warlock because I think the best way to play this is with Osmomancy gloves still. You get multiple Cold Snap grenades that track more aggressively and for longer, so it's really hard to get up close to a Stasis Warlock. You can easily be frozen and caught off guard, and then as well, you also have that Healing Rift that you can turn into a Freeze Rift, so anybody near you will get frozen. This has a lot of potential to deal with supers when you yourself don't have a super. Being able to freeze basically anything on command here has an insane, tremendous amount of value. Let's say like you're getting pushed with like any of these roaming supers and they like are dumb and they get too close to you. You can always put down a Healing Rift, always healing or throw down a cold snap, and you'll be able to deal with them if you have like some special ammo or some team shots or something. So the playmaking potential of Stasis Warlock is up there, and as well, it's probably, I would say it's probably the best roaming super in the game because it can just freeze everything and one-shot it. Very, very easy to use, and you kind of can just sit on objectives with the Stasis Super, and no one really is going to be able to push you. The only way you can really die in the Super is if you're getting like headshot by a sniper or something. But again, the risk of dying in the Super is very, very minimal, and there's lots of ways to deal with people who are being really aggressive on you. So I think Stasis Warlock definitely belongs up in this A tier section. Now the other Stasis subclass, Stasis Titan, I think also belongs in the A tier as well. This is definitely one of the least used subclasses these days, but I think this is one of the ones that has the highest skill ceiling. There's lots and lots of ways to take advantage of the Stasis Titan here. Glacier grenades for one. You can really set them up on so many parts of the map to get crazy angles. You guys have probably seen like Cakes videos where he's like putting glacier grenades on sides of walls so he can jump up on top of them to get crazy angles. You can do that on Stasis Titan. You probably have the best movement on Titan you could possibly ask for because you do have Cryoclasm for the insane slide. You do have access to things like Diamond Lance to get some crazy like a snowballing effect. You also have the option to play a little bit more defensively. You can there are still teams out there, guys, that run 3 of these, and they run the chest piece Hoarfrost where they turn their barricade into ice crystals. You can still do the triple ice spamming thing where you slowly walk up and you have the frost armor and you're really hard to deal with because you have the damage resist. So there's lots and lots of options with Stasis Titan here because, again, you can play a little bit more slowly if you want and be a little bit more like a turtle with that a crystal spam, or you can be more aggressive with the crazy movement that you have, not only from Cryoclasm but also from things like Shiver Strike. So lots and lots of options with Titan, Stasis Titan here, and you also have a great super. What is it? Glacial Quake. That right-click slam can freeze lots of things in close proximity. You can also build big blocks of ice, so it is harder to push into something like a Glacial Quake, and that left click can really, or light attack can really help you move fast because it is basically just Shiver Strike you can spam infinitely, or until the super runs out with no cooldown. So you are really fast in this super. So I think Stasis Titan belongs up here in the A tier just because the skill cap on this class is really high. Now, I think the rest of these classes do belong in S tier, and I was really debating here, guys, if I should even put Solar Warlock in the S tier if it belonged in A, but I think it just wouldn't be right to not have at least one Warlock class in the S tier, and there's really only one Warlock class that really belongs in the S tier, guys, and that is Solar Warlock. One, you have a lot of the best supers in the game. Well of Radiance, still quite good in Trials. I know the zones were changed, so there's a little bit less emphasis. Like the zone comes up a little bit later, and it takes a little bit longer to capture. So you can't just plop the Well of Radiance at the start of the round immediately and just win the round for free. You do have to play this a little bit better, but Well of Radiance still, with that super fast charging cooldown, does bring a lot of value in Trials, as well as you have some other supers. Song of Flame lasts a really long time, buffs your weapons. You don't even really need to use your like abilities like the melee or the grenade to get a lot of value because you can just take advantage of the damage resist and just fight people with your weapons. But if they do push, you do have that one-shot Incinerator Snap or Celestial Fire melee, and you have the tracking grenades here, which do make this super really strong. Obviously, heat rises. You can fly around with your scout rifles. You can fly around with your pulse rifles. You can fly around with your igneous hammers, your 120 hand cannons, and get really crazy angles that no other class can get because you can just fly around with them. Obviously, great. And then you do have a couple other great aspects. Icarus Dash, of course, crazy movement. You can move really fast and get out of situations you normally would be able to without it. So I think all around, I was struggling to put this up in S tier, but I think it would be wrong if there wasn't at least one Warlock class that was an S tier. It's definitely the best class you can play on Warlock. And now I think the second best class in the game, guys, it has to go to Void Titan. Now, I was thinking before I made this tier list that I would have Prismatic Titan above Void Titan, but now actually looking at the subclass like side by side, I actually think Void Titan is a little bit better. For one, I mean, you have both of these on Prismatic Titan, but Twilight Arsenal, great super because it is a super fast charging super. I personally don't like it very much because I don't really like how the tracking is on the axes, but again, it is a really strong super because it charges fast. You can get those axes to your teammates, which do a tremendous amount of work because they do just one-shot people. You also have the Overshield Bastion barricades. Just placing a barricade down, everybody on your team instantly 40 HP, and if you happen to lose a little bit of the overshield, you can always run back to the barricade, get the overshield back. Very, very strong. You also have probably the best grenade in the game on Void Titan here, which is combined with controlled demolition that makes people volatile when you hit them with your abilities, is Scatter Grenade. Controlled demolition, Scatter Grenade. Scatter grenades already are really, really strong. They just do an insane amount of damage when you place them correctly. But if you make people volatile, you also get healed as the volatile explosions happen. So because there are so many mini explosions with the scatter grenade on controlled demolition, they do an insane amount of burst damage, and they also heal you. You also have the option, if you're on Void Titan, to use the Weaken Fragment. So you could have the Weaken and the Volatile and the health back combined with the Scatter Grenade, and that's just insane. You have the Melee Health Regen Fragment, Echo of Leeching. You also have the Radar Boosting Fragment on Void here, which makes your radar come up in a little bit tinier slices, which helps you find people more easily in their exact location on the map. So I think all around, Void Titan is the best Titan class in the game, bar none. I know Striker Titan is really annoying here, guys, but a well-placed grenade, some good team shots, heck, even just running away and avoiding the barricade is usually just enough to really neutralize the effectiveness of the Striker Titan here. So I'm very comfortable putting Void Titan here as the number 2 subclass in the game and the best Titan subclass in the game. And without further ado, the number 1 subclass in the game. I don't know if this is really coming to as a surprise to many of you guys, because there are more and more Night Stalker hunters appearing in our lobbies, in our trials games. One, you have the new aspect on the prowl, which marks people, and when you kill them, they spawn a smoke, so you can run through it, or your teammates can run through it, and you can make people invisible. It also gives you an additional fragment slot. So the stats you can get on a Void Hunter are absolutely insane, because you can have 5 fragments, I believe. 5 or 6 fragments. So lots of build potential here. There also are a whole list of different exotics you can use on Night Stalker that are perfectly meant to synergize with the build's playstyle. For one, you still have Radiant Dance Machine, still really good, getting your dodge back really fast and buffing the accuracy of your weapons. You have stuff like Gemini Jester, which removes people's radar when you dodge. You've got Graviton, Forfeit, which buffs your invisibility, so when you're invisible, you recover faster and it lasts longer. You've got Omni Oculus, so you get multiple smoke bombs, and you get smoke bombs refunded if you make other people invisible. And then, of course, you still have Stompies, so if you want to play a little bit more aggressively, you still have those as well. Hunter also has a nice selection of options in terms of the supers. If you're wanting to run a little bit lower intellect because you want to build more into your other stats, you have Tether. Tether, while its potency may not be the strongest, a well-placed Tether can absolutely win you the round and shut down other supers, and its cooldown is very, very fast. So having a Tether can be really nice, because again, it does charge really fast and can deal with other supers and objectives. But if you don't want to play Tether, and you want another super that takes a little bit more of investment into your intellect, you have to play a little bit better, it might be a little bit harder to get, you can always play Spectral Blades, which is one of the best roaming supers in the game because it lasts so damn long. When you're invisible with Spectral Blades, it lasts longer and it gives you wall hacks. So while you're in Spectral Blades, you can totally give calls to your teammates, knowing exactly where to push because you have that exact location of where to go with the wall hacks on Spectral Blades. And again, you have probably the best melee In the game, smoke bomb, when you throw it at people, it lasts a little bit on the ground if they don't run over it already. It's a fake radar ping. If they run over it, they're weakened, they're slowed, and they're blinded. So if you hit someone with a smoke bomb and they're in your line of sight, there is really nothing you can do. It's a free gunfight, and smoke bombs are super, super easy to spam because, again, it is a melee, so you can always use your Gambler's Dodge on Hunter to just dodge near somebody and get an additional smoke bomb, or you could use Omnioculus and just get another smoke bomb as another charge. So you have 2 charges of smoke bombs. You have a great grenade. You have scatter grenade. You can use suppressor grenades if you want to deal with other supers. Lots of great options here on Void Hunter. You have, again, vanishing steps, so you can dodge with your Gambler's Dodge as well. Get your melee back and go invisible. And again, on the prowl here. So I think it is undisputed that Invis Hunter is the best subclass in the game, and that I guess in this S tier, I think Void Titan and Solar Warlock go with it as well. Now, one last looking at the subclass tier list. I did not mean to move Prismatic Warlock back there. That was a little bit messed up there. Looking at this now, I kind of want to move Void Warlock up, but I don't think it's quite as good, guys, as the rest of these subclasses up here. I know people are going to be kind of annoyed that Strand Hunter is way down here at B, but I think when you really take into account the rest of what these other subclasses have compared to Strand Hunter, can you really make the argument that it is actually better than these subclasses? In my opinion, no, so I think B is the perfect spot for it. Now, I do feel bad for the Strand Titan and Strand Warlock classes because those really have no chance at ever being played because I just don't think they're going to get buffed. I think they're already like strong in things like PvE, so you don't really people already have kind of found a purpose for these, so I don't really see how Bungie will be able to bring these up into like one of these higher tiers here. And again, things like Solar Hunter, Stasis Hunter, Arc Hunter, Stormcaller, and Sunbreaker. These are kind of just like, I don't know, power creep classes due to other things being buffed more and more. Looking back at it, honestly, now, it's honestly insane how strong they made the Void 2.0 subclasses at the very beginning. I think they might have seen the strengths of these two classes, and this class too, I guess, when they first came out, and kind of toned down the rest of the 2.0 classes. But yeah, guys, I think this is honestly, I'm pretty confident in this subclass tier list, guys. I don't think I'd feel bad if people have like different opinions on this. I feel pretty confident about where I placed all these subclasses. But yeah, let me know, guys, down in the comments if you guys would make any changes or your thoughts on this tier list, on how maybe this affects the game overall or PvP overall. But yeah, guys, I think this is how PvP is at the current moment. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.